Happy Monday. Welcome to the Tech Commute. I am super excited. I feel like we've tried to align a couple times, but schedules be scheduling, but we made it. I am honored to be here with Michelle Bakels, Bakels,
Bagels.
Bakels. It is bake like the food without the G. Okay, cool. I
Yeah,
wasn't
exactly.
sure. I love that. Why don't you introduce yourself?
So I am a program director at G2I and I organize React Miami.
I don't know if everybody's familiar with React Miami. Could you tell us a little bit about that? I'm obviously being facetious.
I'm happy to explain it. Not everybody knows what React Miami is, but it's a 2-day conference that we have in Miami for React software developers.
Why? Start from the top on this because I've seen the trajectory of this conference just scale so fast over the last couple of years since I caught wind of it. Like, what was the original thought behind it? Like, why do a conference?
So yeah, it's like two converging stories. So um, basically, myself and the founder of G2I, Gabe Greenberg, we both live in South Florida. And I have been, ever since I started learning how to code, involved in community and teaching coding classes, teaching at clubs, organizing developer meetups, events, all kinds of stuff. So it naturally converged on conferences around 2021. So like around 2021, like Miami started having this huge tech boom. Some people like came from San Francisco and other cities and they were like, "Oh, this is where it's at." And that was like really crazy moment for us down in South Florida, especially
Yeah,
people that were already doing tech stuff down here
yeah,
were like,
yeah.
"What's happening?" But it was like a hot moment. And so I was just like, "Wow, somebody should organize a React conference. It like we should do a conference in Miami, those same kind of conferences that I go to out in Seattle and New York or
Mm.
whatever, like a world class conference needs to be here. I think it's time because, everybody's looking at us right now. So I was kind of thinking about doing a conference and then Gabe, who I knew from the local community, I hadn't worked at G2Y yet. He posted on Twitter like someone should organize a React conference in Miami, and I bought the domain reactmiami.com.
Boom.
And I commented on it. I was like, I was just thinking the same thing today. Let's do it. And so Gabe and I we start talking on the side, and he was like, "Yeah, I didn't expect us to organize it. I was kind of trying to throw this over a fence to like some conference organizers." But I was like, no, no, we can do it. Like, so a little while after we started planning the conference, I actually joined G2I to work on developer health initiatives, and Gabe rolled React Miami organizing into my job at G2I, and that's how it started.
And that is how it started. I love that. I love when people put ideas like out there and then everyone's like, all right, we'll get it started. You're like, shit, that's not what I meant. But at this
It's like when
point,
you have
yeah,
when
but
you
at
have an
this point,
idea
oh,
for an app.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But at this point, I mean, you probably wouldn't really trust it with anybody else, anyways. I bet in hindsight, you're glad you were the one that kind of
Oh,
spearheaded all
100%. Well,
this.
I always wanted it to be us because I didn't trust anyone else with it. Because, yeah, I mean, not to start with some controversial opinions already, but like there were just some things that I was seeing with like, um, so I will just say some of the people that came down to South Florida, like in that hype time, were kind of like grifters. And
Mm,
fortunately, they've kind of like washed out of the scene, like after they kind of got what they wanted out of it. But I was born and raised in South Florida. This is my home. And the last thing that I wanted to see was finally we get a world class developers
mm.
conference. And it's like by people who are just ill intentioned and just want to take advantage of the community. So, yeah, I was pretty untrustworthy of anybody else coming in and doing it.
No, I can appreciate that. Oh, I see Danny Thompson just popped in. Good to see you, Jeff and Alana, Tehran, Roxy. It's great to see everybody. Let's rewind a little bit. I feel like we jumped ahead, but we want to hear a little bit more about your journey into tech. You mentioned that you are a Florida native, correct?
Yeah.
So I can definitely understand your allegiance to the area, wanting to put something together there. But maybe give us a little idea of how you started or how you actually became a developer.
Sure. So I did my first bachelor's degree in art history and Italian, and I lived in Italy and then came back and worked in art galleries here. So I was very much on the humanities side. My career in life was very much humanities focused. But when I became an assistant director at an art gallery, it's a job that requires you to know everything imaginable.
Mm,
Like you just have to be able to do everything. And it's a very dynamic job. And so at some point, we had a web developer for our site that would update our site with our new pieces, but they couldn't keep up with our inventory, like how fast we were bringing in new artwork and selling it. And there were just a lot of bugs on our site. And so out of nowhere, my boss is just like, "Can you learn how to do the website?" And I was just like just very nonchalant. Can you like I don't have any coding experience at all. Like, okay, can you learn how to build our website? Can you learn how to work on our website? I'm like, sure. Like, you just have to say yes
okay.
to
Yeah.
everything. Like, that's just the
Yeah.
job. Like, I always compare it to like if you've seen The Devil Wears Prada, like
Mm.
I was Anne Hathaway's character. Like, you have to get the manuscript for the next Harry Potter book, like, or whatever it was in the movie. Like, you just have to do impossible things. And so I learned how to like work on our website and update it and like keep our inventory fresh. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm making $30,000 a year. And I just added like a 100K salary skill to like my repertoire. Like,
Wow.
I'm out. Like I went back
Yeah.
like I went back to school and I got a computer science degree and then I just started working in tech after that.
Oh my God, I love that. What can you talk a little bit about like the pressure of that role? I mean, you even kind of alluded to it. Like, you don't say no. There weren't opportunities to do that. Like, what was that work environment like for you?
I mean, it was like a roller coaster all the time. But it was fascinating because I got to work with art. I got to work with artists from all over the world. Like putting together exhibitions and being at shows was amazing. You know, scouting artists at Art Basel was so fun. So there were like a lot of highlights. Like if you're an art lover, you would love certain things like putting together, basically like a study guide for your gallerists for a show is
Mm,
fun for me. But then there's like some stressful things and there's late nights and like, when in tech we talk about late nights being like, okay, you're at your computer and you're coding all night and that can be pretty tough after a while too. But gallery late nights are tough because they're so like demanding of your energy and they're so
mm,
tiring. Like it could be like, you're just in the gallery late at night because you're working on closing a sale, like, or after a show, you're out with clients at a dinner and like you just want to go home, but you can't. It's like part of your job.
yeah.
It sounds like sad, but it's like part of like you don't have sympathy for me, but it's part of your job to like go out to a nice restaurant with your clients. But like after a while, you're just like, I just want to go home. Like I don't
Sure.
want to do this.
No, and from the outside looking in, you kind of hear that a lot, and I can relate to that in that sense. Like, a lot of people see the stuff we're doing for community, and they're like, "Wow, they look so fun." It's work, Like, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like, we're putting in effort and time and the hours. Like, I definitely understand where you're coming from there. So, from that experience, can you think of a few things that you've sort of kept with you as you now move into the tech world, like certain like skills, transferable skills specifically, because that's a non-tech role, and we have tons of career transitioners here. Like, what are some things that you've kind of kept with you?
Like those transferable skills, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I think being able to talk to anybody
Mm,
is massively advantageous. Um, I think it's probably the number one skill for you to develop to be able to be in a room with anybody and be able to hold a conversation in the art world, as you can imagine, there is an array of personalities. And trying to figure out how to navigate a conversation in a way that's interesting and comfortable um, can sometimes be a challenge. But I think it's definitely worth, like, if you're somebody that describes yourself as an introvert, like, I highly recommend working on this skill, like, because it's
mm,
something that you can improve on, and there are going to be awkward conversations and there's going to be mishaps, but you have to like try. Like, I can't imagine my life today without networking. Having a computer science degree on my resume is really great when somebody that I met at an event has to convince HR or somebody above them to hire
Mm.
me. But that's not how I get hired. I got hired because somebody meets me at a hackathon. They enjoy working with me. They met me at a conference or whatever it is, meetups or something. And then you have those line items that are like, okay, this is good for us. We can show HR this, or we can show the executive team this. But like being able to talk to people is a skill that I really developed in that role and in retail roles before it, that I
Mm.
think is the most important. So I'll just stop there.
No, no, I mean, honestly, that's like one of the best ones. Any sort of communication or like interacting with people. Like at the end of the day, no matter what industry you get into, like there's people everywhere. So you need to be able to communicate and work well in those types of environments. Um, Talk about that first role as a developer. So you got the computer science degree. Um, how did that sort of come about? Was that with Gabe at
No,
G2I, or you
no.
had a, okay. What was the first
Yeah.
role?
So the first role was at an energy company, and I
Mm.
got the job because I was participating in a hackathon, and I was still a computer science student at the time. So actually, I did my last year of my CS degree at the same time as I was working full time as a software
Oh,
developer.
wow.
And the first thing they told me is like, do not drop out of college just because you got this job. Like, so I had to do both at the same time. But yeah, I was participating in a local hackathon, and one of the judges was an executive at this company. And I got to meet him, and everybody was like, wow, you won first place. What did you build to impress the judge? I'm like, we didn't even crack the top three. Like, you don't have to win the hackathon to impress a judge. Like, but like, if you go around, like, if you're at a hackathon, go and talk to the judges. Like, they're usually impressive people that are part of the community. Like, get yourself known in front of them. Like, so anyway, yeah, I participated in that hackathon, and then I got to send my resume over to this VP, and it all just flowed from there.
And that was it. What do you suggest as far as like some advice, or maybe just the way that you approach in-person events? Like what's your objective? How do you, and you kind of alluded to it there when you were speaking about the hackathon, is like talk to judges. So like kind of what's your plan when you go into other types of in-person events that people can kind of get some advice from?
Okay, so I sort of formalized this idea over the last couple of years, and I have a
Nice.
framework for to answer this
Let's
question.
go. All
I
right.
mean,
Love
I'm a
that.
conference organizer, right? So people are always they always want to find out how to get the most out of React Miami. So I
Yeah.
came up with this framework called CRUD. It's like CRUD services for your conference experience. So create, read, update, delete. So before you go to a conference, because I believe so much of your conference experiences is what you bring to the conference, how you participate and engage. So before you go to the conference, make your CRUD game plan. So create is like an opportunity that you want to create. Is it somebody that you want to meet? You want to focus on meeting this specific person or someone from this company or this sponsor or a speaker? Like come up with like focus on like who you want to meet, be intentional about who you
Mm.
want to meet. Okay, read is like something you have to tell someone, ideally more than one person, something that you accomplished within the last year, because people have a hard time talking about themselves, but everybody wants to learn about everybody else. So you have to practice the skill of talking about yourself. So share something that you accomplished in the last year that helps give people a reason to remember you. Update is something that you want to learn. You're at a conference after all. So, what do you want to leave with learning? Like, what knowledge do you want to update? And then delete. This is something that's like a persistent thought or a distraction that could be interfering with your time at a conference. You want to just ignore that, delete that for the time that you're at the conference. This is my recommendation.
Wow. I love that. A whole framework. A
A
whole
whole
framework. Is
framework.
that
It's not
you
that
have to
hard.
send me a link to that so we can share that, because I'm sure you have one somewhere. You
I tweeted it, I'm sure.
yeah, I'll find it. I'll look it up for the community. That's fantastic. Um, so I really like this in person thing because I feel like we need more of it. Do you see a shift now that like the pandemic's gone? Do you see more in person events happening, or are we still kind of slowly ramping back up to seeing more?
In person is happening. Like virtual is kind of going away all the time. I don't really hear a lot about virtual events.
Mm.
just to be honest, but I
Yeah.
do see a lot online about in-person events, ironically. So I think we're back in person, and I think even like local meetups are very much worth putting together, not
Mm,
just for the benefit of your local community, but these things are seen all around the world too. So in person is it. Like I think it's here to stay, and it's just gonna deepen and deepen.
good. I like that because I like the in person events. They're super fun. Seth came in with a
Yeah.
question here. I know I can walk in a room and hold a conversation with anyone since I do it every day. How do you get that across on a resume, though? I see the value in the job, but not in getting the job.
How do you get that across on a resume? That you're personable, basically, I guess.
Yeah, or that you're a good talker, which clearly I am not.
Conversationalist,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. I think that's a word. But
I'm
yeah, that's a
not
great
sure.
question.
Like, I feel like this is Taylor Desson domain. But I guess I mean, if I were gonna take a stab at it, I would maybe emphasize like if I work with a lot of different departments or like different roles in the company, different leadership levels.
Hmm. Yeah, I like the point that you made there too about expressing like your communication with different teams and groups and areas of the company. And I think Danny pointed it out too. This is more of a demonstratable skill than maybe doing it in writing. Um, I could definitely see a little bit of a challenge there, but great advice. I think just depending on how you put it there. But so okay, we started at the energy company.
Mhm.
How long were you there for?
About 3 years, I think, give or take. I can't quite remember. I
Yeah.
think it's 3 years.
No, no worries. Did you like what you were doing? Did you find that you started to sort of get a little bored with it? Like, kind of talk to us about what happened there that made you decide to leave.
Yeah, so I like the work that I did there is like once in a lifetime work
Mm,
and probably the best learning opportunity as a developer that you could get. I mean, I worked on the first React application in the company. I was
nice.
like one of the two first React developers in the company. It was really, really valuable. And I got to learn a lot about web development and teach it to other people, like as I was learning it. And the data that I worked with was incredible. Like, I'll probably never see anything like it again.
Wow.
So I loved the work, and the developers that I worked with were masters of their craft and so intelligent. And um, yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. But eventually, like, I did have to leave. Like, I share this quite a bit, so I'll share it here. But
Mm,
there were just some interpersonal issues in
mm,
a team, and I couldn't. At some point, the work couldn't outweigh the effect of the stress of those
sure.
interpersonal issues. And at some point around the time that we all had to go home for COVID, I started like experiencing this heart condition.
Oh, wow.
And it was like directly triggered. Like if I was in a retrospective meeting, I would like sometimes not even be able to like speak. Like I was having such crazy heart palpitations that I
Wow.
couldn't even like talk. And so I was like, okay, what's going on? So I went to a doctor I wore like a heart monitor for a few months, and basically they were just like, yeah, you have to remove yourself from whatever is triggering this. There's no cure for this. Like we can give you beta blockers to mitigate some of these symptoms, but that's not going to solve anything, and there's nothing we can do to cure it. Like you
Mm,
have to remove yourself. And so that was hard, but like I decided to leave the company, and then I went to a startup that ended up being a worse experience than my
oh,
heart condition.
no.
Got like way worse. I was so bummed. I was like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
and so yeah, after 9 months there, I left, and then that's when I started working with Gabe at G2I.
Mm,
Since we had started working on React Miami, we had like shared some of our background. Like
yeah.
he also worked through a lot of chronic illness and pain as a founder that he had to navigate and learn how to deal with. And I just remember like us meeting for a React Miami meeting, and he was just like, I want my company to be the first company that prioritizes the health of developers. And I was like, this crazy burnt out like developer with like a health condition from workplace related stress. And I was like, I must have looked at him like an alien. Like, did those words just come out of your mouth? Like, nobody cares about us. Like, so yeah, later I ended up working with Gabe. I was very happy about that.
Yeah, it sounds like you would be. What was that like dealing with that? Is being in the role and not really wanting to step back. Like I feel like we have this mentality where we have to just keep going and keep working and till we reach that point, till we literally just break. Like, what were some of the things you were seeing in yourself that now, I guess looking back, like if you saw it again earlier, you'd maybe kind of stop?
Well,
Warning signs. That's the thing I'm looking
yeah,
for.
I couldn't disconnect. Like I just couldn't disconnect from work. I was always anxious. Like, it didn't matter if people were like, "Oh, you can turn off your Teams messages or whatever." Like, I still had the anxiety of like, what if somebody messages me something that I need to fix right now, and if I
Mm,
don't fix it right now, are they going to be upset? And like,
oh,
or what if somebody calls in to question my work, or says I didn't do something that I like, all this array of all of these things that would constantly come up. Like, so there was like a lot of anxiety. I felt like I couldn't disconnect from work at all. And I was like spending a lot of time commiserating with my coworkers,
mm,
like just after work we would like talk for hours, like, and just vent. And I think like vent sessions are healthy on some level, but at some point if you're talking at the end of every single work day every day, like about what happened that day, it's like it's too much. Like, it's too much.
yeah.
You're carrying too much stress into your personal life. And those were like definitely the things that I was also like incredibly defensive. Like, you just get put in this position where you feel like people are like throwing you under the bus or like attacking you, and
Mm,
so you can't relax. Like, you always have to defend yourself, and so that was also really stressful. So those are some of the things that I noticed for me.
sure. Yeah. So then I guess taking that, you went 9 months at the startup and you started working with Gabe. How did you adjust? Like, how did you go from those environments to then maybe, working at G2I where it wasn't like that? But you don't just turn it off.
No, you don't. And it's like so deeply wired in all of like it's harder than you think. Like, people always think like it was a dream to get the job at G2I, but
Mm,
I realized after a few months like, wow, I can't even enjoy this because I'm still like reacting. Like, my initial
yeah.
reaction instinct to some of these messages is still like from a place of fear. And when I started working there, I can't remember even if I've probably told Gabe this before, but like I started go just taking a few therapy sessions
Mm,
when I first started working at G2I, just focused specifically on this career transition, because I was like, I'm working for my dream boss. This is one of the nicest people that I've ever met. And my mind keeps immediately thinking that he's trying to sabotage me,
mm,
undermine me, like he's jealous of me, that I did something wrong. Like, if I was featured on a podcast or something, like, am I putting myself into the spotlight too much? Like, is it a bad thing? Like, I had to like, Gabe was really supportive, and he was always like so excited if I was on somebody's podcast, and so like, yeah, just like supportive of me. But there was part of me that was like, I work for in the job right before that, somebody that was pretty like, yeah, not didn't like it if he felt like I was taking the spotlight away from him. And which is crazy because I feel like any visibility for a startup is good. Like,
yeah.
it doesn't have to, like, we can all shine. Like, we all have to be out there doing the most. So yeah, I had to like work on it a lot, and I will say it took a really long time, like over a year, to finally start being comfortable in my work at G2I and trust that, I was being taken care of and the people that I'm working with want to work with me, and that I'm here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's safe, right?
Yeah. Wow. That sounds hard. I can't even imagine like going through that. And then I feel like it's almost just as shocking or like can have such a strong impact to go from such a like one way to like the polar opposite. Like that shift can affect you. How was this in your like work life balance? Like during all of this time, like while this is going on, like what was going on as far as like personal life and how are you like kind of balancing all that? Because I know as much as we say we don't like letting our work lives affect home, it happens.
Yeah. I mean, I went from basically like right before this having no work-life balance
Mm.
to working for somebody who had boundaries. Like, I don't know if it's still true today. I have to ask him, but I remember when I started at G2, because now Gabe's all over the place, right? But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I remember when I started at G2I, like, Gabe, he told me that he didn't have Slack or email on his phone, like, for his own company. And I was like, what?
That's pretty
Like,
crazy.
he was like, Michelle, I don't need you answering messages like on the weekend or whatever. Like, you don't need to be working on the weekend. Like, I was just like, okay, sure. Like, everybody says that. But I was like too worried to uninstall, like, or disconnect from my workspace or whatever. Like, get rid of, we were using Basecamp at the time, like, get rid of Basecamp and stuff. Like, I was like, sure, sure. But then when he was like, no, I don't have G2I email on my phone, I was like, okay, okay. I'll disconnect the email. I mean, I have it now because now I run a conference, so I
Yeah.
have to have it on my phone. But like that time, I was just like, oh my God, what? Like he had taught me a lot about boundaries in work life and what that even looks like and what it means and how to practice it.
I love that. So what does that look like for you now?
Well, for me now, I mean, a lot of it is just like having a very flexible schedule that works with my life. Like, I don't have to work. Like, I can just, our team is global remote, right? So,
Mm.
like, if I need to go to the doctor, as long as like nobody's expecting, like, I don't have a meeting scheduled, if it's my time, I can shift it around. I can work a little bit later in the evening or work some extra hours another day to make up the work, so that I can go to the doctor to like
Mm.
I can, it's so funny, like even yesterday, Sunday, I was relaxing on the couch and I was like, oh, I need to work on this. Like I really need to get started with the React Miami website. I'm like, it's Sunday. Nobody's expecting you to make progress on this. Like you can chill. Like nobody's working. So having the weekends to myself is great. Being able to like not even think twice about scheduling doctor's appointments is great.
Mm.
Being able to go out, after work if I want to and like not have to worry about like should I have my laptop with me just in case somebody needs something or whatever. That's all a win for me these days.
Oh, definitely. Well, how do you I guess how do you sort of mitigate that feeling then? And I can speak to that in the sense like even yesterday we had some very inappropriate spam come into our Discord, but
Oh,
I don't have my notifications on during the weekend, and that's kind of my responsibility. So it's like kind of in the same sense. It's like what do you do, and then how do you not feel guilty? Like how do you separate those two things?
I mean, for me, not feeling guilty is like all about how my colleagues respond to
Mm,
things.
yeah, okay.
So like that's just I don't know how else to say it. Like if
Yeah,
if I were in that situation and depends on the reaction. Like I guess if somebody was upset with me that I didn't see it,
yeah,
then it would be like, well, shit, like now I got to be watching Discord on the weekend for sure so that
yeah,
nobody gets upset with me again. But if they were like, it came in over the weekend, so we understand why we missed it, like, but let's come up with a game plan for
yeah,
like monitoring this, like the Discord for the
yeah.
future. Like,
I feel like it's a hard balance, especially when you're building community or engaging with community or being a conference organizer like yourself. I mean, you're people facing, you're interacting with a lot of people. Like, how do you set those boundaries for yourself?
yeah, it's like shifting all the time, but like I make a game plan with myself, and if I feel like I need to also communicate it with anybody in G2I, I share it with them too. But um this is like, for all things React Miami, like as you get closer to the conference, you're more inundated, you're going to have more messages. And
Mm,
the idea is like, yeah, there are times when you're going to have to pick up a lot of work or work extra hours or work at night. But if you're going to plan for working like that, then you need to plan for resting afterwards.
mm.
So what comes after that will push, like if you're going to ramp up to React Miami, then how are you recuperating after React Miami? So yeah, that's kind of what I think about, like planning the work. Planning the rest is equally as important as planning the work.
Oh, I like that. Good sound bite. 32 minutes. I'm going to document that.
I love
No,
that.
that was awesome. So how do you prioritize rest? Like post React Miami, what does Michelle do?
Every year I try something different. So we're still learning. But I think the sweet spot is post React Miami, just anticipate a little bit of a spin down, but
Mm,
like gradually. So I think my strategy for this year is going to be, yeah, like the day after React Miami, kind of treat it as like you're still working a lot, but it's like you're coming down a ramp
sure, sure.
instead of like dropping off a cliff,
Yeah.
because there's still so much to do right after the conference is over.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think next year I'm gonna like ramp down and then take some time off
Mm.
and then come back.
Yeah, recharge a little bit. So let's talk about the conference a little bit from this year to 2025's, which was a few months. Well, no, it was over a few months ago at this point.
Wow.
Um, what have you seen change from when you started it to now? And what's some of the feedback that you've got as far as like things that worked really, really great that people love, and maybe some things that you're going to iterate on?
So the excitement for React Miami grows every year. I think it always surprises me. Um, right now, I'm shocked again because pretty much right after last React Miami, I already had sponsors that want to come back. I have new sponsors. We just sold our top tier sponsorship. We're working on
Nice.
that. Like, so
Let's
that was
go.
pretty shocking. We have some like new companies that want to get involved,
Hmm.
and having these conversations this early is really surprising. Like, it starts earlier and earlier every year. And so that's probably the thing that I've seen the most difference. And it's starting to be like, I see on Twitter people talking about the conference all year round, even if
Mm.
I'm not starting that conversation. Like, it's sort of entered the vernacular of web dev Twitter, especially in React. Like, people just kind of reference it and talk about it. And so that's really exciting. As far as feedback goes, I will say one big piece of feedback that we're acting on this year is like we don't tend to sell a lot of sponsor talks, but
Mm.
for our top sponsors, usually they want a talk.
Sure.
Um, they always they they always get bad negative reviews in the post conference feedback. Like they always get negative comments in the post
Yeah.
conference feedback. Actually, I think developers are so sensitive to sponsored talks that sometimes they identify a talk as a sponsored talk when it's not, just because a
Oh.
speaker is kind of talking a bit too much about something that they work on
Yeah.
themselves,
Yeah.
which I think is like a little bit hard to draw that line of like
Sure.
where, like at some point there's just a matter of taste and opinion. But
Yeah.
so we're basically not going to have sponsored talks, and I'm going through the learning process of telling sponsors that are investing so much into us that you don't even want that like for your
Yeah.
brand, please. Like, it's not doing what you think it's doing for you. Like, let's find creative ways, to give you good visibility without that. So that's a big one. That's our biggest one.
Hmm.
And then one that's like ever elusive is like good Wi-Fi. Uh, so we were supposed to have solved this this year. The Wi-Fi was supposed to be awesome at the conference and it wasn't. So we have to go back and try again. And it's one of those things that's so hard because you don't know how it's going to shake out until it's
Yeah.
happening. And then there's really nothing you can do in the moment to fix it. Um, so hopefully with what we learned last year, we can ramp up the Wi-Fi and make that better. But it's the funniest thing because conference organizers, so many of us talk to each other. And that's like one of the things that other conference organizers ask me about, like, what'd you do about the Wi-Fi? And I'm like, I haven't figured it out yet. I don't have an answer.
Oh, that's it's funny because for a tech conference, you would think that that would just be a given. Good Wi-Fi. Everybody's going to want that. But you're right though. In hindsight, now that I think about it, it usually is an issue
Yeah.
at almost
Let me
every
know if you
conference.
ever go to a
Yeah,
conference where there's good, tell me.
I
I'm
will.
DMing their organizer ASAP.
I will definitely. And anybody else that has feedback on Wi-Fi, please let Michelle know. I guess when you were mentioning sponsors and talks and kind of having those really like heavily influenced talks at conferences, like how do you strike that balance? Like how are you selling them on the people aren't here for that, but still get the sponsors to be interested and then also still appeal to the attendee?
It has so much to do with what the sponsor is looking for. So if they're looking for visibility on their product, like I'll try and offer the sponsors, like the top tier sponsors, like a minute or two on stage in between talks to
Mm.
like just be like, come over to our booth at this time and we'll do a like a learning demo or whatever, or like we'll do a giveaway or something like basically I just try and help them come up with creative ways to get them to their booths, get attendees to their booths, or just get visibility
Mm.
in other ways. So one thing that got really good positive feedback that we did for the first time this year that we're going to like increase next year is we did these little small group activities. The
Mm.
first night of React Miami, like you could do a downtown Miami walking tour, you
Oh
could
yeah.
do a pub crawl, you could go to a tech meetup. Like, so we had a couple of different options for people to do after the first night. And it had stellar reviews. People were like, more of that, love that. So this year, we're giving those top sponsors the opportunity to own one of those.
Oh, that's
Like
cool.
you can organize a meetup at a bar if you want. Like you can host a panel at a tech meetup if you like. You can kind of own one of those activities, or you can own, one that we organize. You can own a
Mm.
downtown walking tour. You can own a 5K. Like that's going to be your event.
Yeah, I love those kind of extracurriculars at the conferences. I feel like people need those too. I mean, how important is it to you to have those kind of after the hallway events where you can kind of just chill a little bit and really engage with people?
I think that they're I think in retrospect, so obviously important. Um, because I think about myself at a conference, like after the conference is over, you can hang out, you can go to dinner. And I always think like, wow, I really hope that I make some good connections here because I really don't want to spend the rest of my afternoon or the rest of my evening in my hotel room. But if you had a hard time meeting people during the day, it can be kind of awkward to try and
Mm.
make dinner plans with people. So if you have these activities after the conference that are like, just downtime, hang out, it's like giving people an opportunity to join those things, even if they didn't feel like they were able to connect with anybody to get like an invite or something like that. Like you can still meet up with people.
Yeah. Well, going back to your crud program or framework, as you said, how would you suggest people approach maybe like making a friend who the person that's going to a conference by themselves that doesn't know anybody that's maybe missing out on the interaction, like give some tips that you would kind of give people first timers or again just like breaking that ice a little bit.
Yeah, it can always be a little bit challenging. Like there are even times when I want to approach a group and I'm just like, should I like what's the temperature of that conversation? So I would start there. Like So there's two places, I guess. First of all, if you are good at having conversations and you know a lot of people, there's this thing called the Pac-Man rule, where you sort of
Mm,
like create a circle conversation, but you leave a little empty space for somebody to be able to walk in easily. So like I like that Pac-Man thing. That's like for people who are already good at talking but want to make more friends. But then if you're not, like, I guess what I do is I you try to be a little bit strategic. Like, there's some people that you want to meet, but if it looks like they're in a really intense conversation, then maybe that's not the right time to go up to them and like come into the cut in. I will also say, like, it can be really, really hard to join a conversation of coworkers.
mm,
Um, I will say, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm detracting too much. A huge mistake that I see, not just at React Miami, but all conferences, is at sponsor booths. When teams get together, a lot of times they don't get to work together that often, and they'll like start catching up and like they'll start like, kind of having corporate like or like their company talk at a
mm.
booth or like at a networking party, and it's like so tempting to want to catch up and talk about all of the company tea like IRL, but like I would just resist the urge so much to like try and allow more people to join your conversation so that they don't feel so awkward, like they don't feel like they're interrupting. But yeah, I think kind of joining a conversation and just kind of like softly trying to introduce yourself and like get with the flow of what they were talking
Yeah.
about is like the best approach. And I will say grand majority of the time people do not mind if you join their conversation. Everybody's there usually to meet people, and if anybody ever really makes you feel awkward or like embarrassed, that you like don't feel embarrassed, like that's more them than you, like just move on and try again.
Yeah. Yeah. Just keep moving. I like Seth's idea. Don't have Wi-Fi next year. Just don't at all. And then the next year, just have whatever, and people will be so thankful. Just don't even offer it. It's fine.
That's so funny. Like, I don't know if you ever saw, like, one of my favorite TikToks or YouTube videos or whatever was like somebody feeding this like black bird outside their balcony and was like, "Oh, I'm feeding this crow." And a bunch of people like responded and were like, "That's a raven." And he like responded basically being like, "What I learned is that you can't make everybody happy all of the time, but you can make everybody unhappy all of the time. So this is me feeding my chicken."
Yeah, I mean, I honestly love that idea.
That's what
Um,
I think about that all the time with things like,
uh,
just don't have Wi-Fi. That's the
yeah,
only way you get
that's
everybody
it.
to agree.
Exactly. React Miami 2026 now with zero Wi Fi.
Offline.
Offline. There you go. That's the tagline this year. Um, wow. Okay. So I like your approach to like interacting with people because again, I mean we've touched on it a few times here. Like people are just everywhere. Like no matter what industry you're in, you've got to interact with them. You've got to just kind of be a part of it. Um, what do you what are some of your takeaways from conferences like in your memory? Because now you're doing your own, but like you've also attended some. Like, what are some of the most memorable things for you in your life that have happened at conferences? Like, really great talks, really great meetups. Like, you had a potential opportunity. Like, I mean, just even talking about React Miami got you connected with Gabe. So, like, what are some like really memorable moments for these interactions for you?
I think like one of my best conference memories was doing karaoke after Cascadia JS at their after party. um I think that was like hands down one of my top conference moments. That was just so fun. Like Cascadia JS, if you haven't heard of it, it's coming up in a month
September, yeah, a
actually.
month away.
And I always describe it as sort of like the cult classic of JavaScript conferences. So it's like been around for 11 or 12 years. And it's the same organizers, and they do it out in the Pacific Northwest. And it always has like a little bit of a weird like vibe to it. Like they kind of got like a like Bigfoot graphics and stuff like
Mm,
that. And they always have talks that are a little bit out there too. Um, So that's one of the things that stuck with me. I'm pretty influenced by Cascadia JS in that I want to have like a different experience. I want to have a unique experience that's really memorable. Because I feel like when I went to Cascadia JS, I was part of this cool like little family, and I've always wanted to like have that for my attendees too.
I love that. Shout out to Carter and Carrie, by the way. I'm going. We're actually sponsoring the hackathon that's
Love
going
it.
on this. I know I'm very excited. I saw karaoke. I'm like, oh yes,
So they
let's
have
go.
legendary karaoke, by the way, like legendary. Like I've been to a lot of conference karaoke, and theirs is the most famous. Theirs is so fun. Carter and Carrie always participate in it themselves, which is always great because Carter always picks some song that's like, I'm fucking done, right? Like, kind of like that's like an anthem that's like,
Yeah,
we're done with the conference.
that
Like,
sounds like him. I can totally see that. What's your
so it's
go-to
like,
karaoke song, by the way?
so ever since Cascadia JS, that really memorable moment, my go-to karaoke song is "Bitch" by Meredith Brooks.
Let's go. There's got to be
Yeah,
footage of that somewhere.
I think there is somewhere, but it was, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like a religious experience. All of the women, like it was like all of the women from Cascadia JS all took this stage at the same time and sang that song together. It was so cathartic
Oh
and it
wow.
was so fun.
Yeah, it
So,
sounds fun. I mean, it sounds like it would be super memorable too. Um, I guess thinking of like the future of React Miami, obviously the name kind of indicates that it has sort of a permanent stake in Miami. Like, how important is it to you to sort of like keep that culture and like support where you grew? Did you grow up around Miami, or you just sort
in
of
South Florida,
planted there?
but
Okay,
not Miami proper,
yeah.
no.
Yeah. So how important is it to you to kind of stay and support your South Florida area?
I mean, that's everything to me. I've been kind of approached about doing conferences in different places,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know that I could replicate the success of React Miami anywhere else just because there's so much like of myself. Like there's so much that I understand about how I want to put that together based on like a lifetime of experiences.
Sure.
Like how do I want to present the conference, like what I want to offer people is shaped by my life here. um so yeah, I personally don't know if I see myself doing a conference. Dev events I've done in other places and I can do in other places,
Hmm.
but a conference, at least holding it to the level of React Miami, is a little bit intimidating to me because that's like my pride and joy in my life.
Sure. No, definitely. I understand that. So I guess like sort of following your career now, you're not coding as much, not as a full time developer. Yeah.
Right.
So you've sort of transitioned away from that. Like, do you think taking that piece out of it has ultimately helped as far as like the burnout and the mental side of what you're doing now?
Well, I actually like coding. So what we
Mm.
do at G2I is during this period, I sort of transition more into a product developer
Oh,
again.
okay.
So I get to work on, well, mostly I've been working on the marketing website
Hmm.
lately. Um, and then, I'll jump in and help with the product if we need it. But basically, my work just sort of shifts based on the time of year and what's happening with React Miami. So
Hmm.
um, I can't do, yeah, dev work full time when React Miami is like full
Sure.
tilt, but I still get to do some of it. And it actually is like what keeps me really, really happy at G2I. It's what makes it like a perfect job for me because I can still maintain that skill and do that. Just when React Miami is a little quieter.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. A healthy balance. I
Hmm.
think, as a community person as well, I still get to like touch code from time to time. And I feel
Yeah.
like when you have that access to it in that way, it actually does kind of bring the fun back to it.
Yeah.
So that totally makes sense. You've got this wonderful website, devhealthos.com. I wanted to make sure that we touched on that for people too. Can you just give us a little idea of what this is, by the way?
So this website is something that Gabe and I worked on for probably close to 2 years. The content we worked on for a year. And this is a guide to what we call restful work, which is like a work pace that you can maintain where you're still productive, but you're happy and you're healthy, of course. And so it kind of goes through um, like different sections of like recognizing your burnout, like identifying
Mm,
burnout, recovering from burnout, and optimizing your work habits, like work um, practices. So it and like basically rebuilding your work practices in a way
mm,
that's more sustainable and healthy. So we worked on this for a long time. It was a lot of several hour long Zoom calls and then writing and then Zoom calls and writing. And like, yeah, it was a lot of work. And
sure.
then we went to an editor with it. She helped us clean it up, shape it up. And then she suggested that we add a workbook to it. So that's how like the cerebral calisthenics got
Mm.
added. And then we launched it as a free website that anybody can use, and you don't have to give us your email. Like you could just use it for free and it's out there. Like, so hopefully it helps other people learn how to work at a pace that's healthy for them too, and in a healthy way.
Yeah, that's an awesome tool. I think everybody needs to check that out. Even if you're just picking up one or two little like tips that help you optimize to get you in a better place. I think we see a lot of that in our industry. It kind of runs rampant with like burnout and mental exhaustion. So I think it's very important. Here's a question from Tehran. How do you feel about vibe coding and other AI tools for managing anxiety and burnout?
I have never considered those things. Like, what do you mean? I've never put those two things together.
Yeah, I was interested in how that was worded. I'm wondering if there are maybe AI tools in the sense that they can um, help you uh, in the process of work, so it's a little less work. Maybe you're using AI tools to take some of the work burden off.
So
Um,
this is one of my favorite commercials you can find on YouTube. You can look up the IBM commercials from the 80s when they started marketing personal computers. And like, their new their like new software of like, basically which is basically spreadsheets and stuff like
yeah.
that. And one of my favorite commercials was um this man coming home to have dinner with his wife and kids, and he's like he still gets to eat his dinner while it's hot, like it's like a whole
Mm,
thing. And the promise of the commercial is like, buy this IBM computer and you're gonna be able to spend your afternoons with your family. You're not going to have to work late because you're going to have less work. And I think fast forward from the 80s to today, we can see that we're still having the same exact problem. How do I disconnect after work? How can I,
mm.
eat dinner with my family uninterrupted? So I don't believe that technology is the answer. I don't think that there's any productivity tool that can be given to us if we don't ourselves create the boundaries and enforce them. So that's my answer.
Dang. No, I mean, I love that answer. I think you're right, and I think the cycles don't change. Like the same things are still happening, and we find these ways to maybe offset it, but at the end of the day, like it's still on us.
Yeah,
it's still us. Like the computers don't burn out.
right.
The computers just make it so we can do more work to then also still burn out. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah, you got to manage it. Um, wow, that was awesome. So, do you have anything coming up currently? I know we were talking about it right before. You did just post about updating the React Miami 2026 page. Any news about that?
So Yeah, the news here is that I got a lot of work to do. Like, I'm having like a creative block. I have like this every year that happens. What's the website gonna look like? It's just me. I don't have a designer. Like, we're just doing it. Like, we could just. So that's what I'm working on. So new website should be launched. Probably I'm going to give it to the beginning of October because I'm going to
Hmm,
be speaking at SquiggleConf in September.
nice.
So with planning a conference talk. I don't know if I'll be able to get it out sooner than that, but tickets are already on sale. If you go to our website now, there's an embarrassing placeholder for selling tickets for next year.
Well, now I have to go
Um,
look.
but it's terrible. It's like coded it during React Miami. It's so bad. But I'm gonna work on a new page. I have like an idea for a theme this year that I want to work with, but we'll see what happens. And reach out to me if you are interested in sponsoring because surprisingly, like like our packages are selling. So yeah, that's what's coming up for me is launching the new site.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing the new site. What inspires you? Like, where do you draw inspiration for the design and everything, or the theme?
Yeah, so I am like I have to like limit my ideas a little bit to my ability because sometimes you see these amazing websites where you're like, I want my website to look like that. But basically, I spend a lot of time on Pinterest
Mm,
um, because
guilty.
I kind of like to find the aesthetic first, and then I figure out how to like fit that aesthetic into a website design. Um, so that's kind of what I go to, and I just try and I don't really know if I have an explanation for it, but it's one of those things like when I see it, like I know it, I'm like,
Sure.
okay, like this is the direction I'm gonna head in. So I have a
Yeah.
few ideas, but I'm not sure exactly which we're gonna do. At the end of the day, it has to be like the theme is no Wi-Fi. It should be right. Like, but at the end of the day, it has to be like a little weird and it has to be super Miami. Like, you have to look at it and be like,
Mm,
this brand couldn't exist for any other event.
yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, the spirit of Miami just screams, and especially like last year's shirt, or no, I guess this year's. It's still
Yeah,
the yeah, it's still this year. It's phenomenal. So you do really great work, and shout out to Pinterest. I love Pinterest.
I
I'm not
love
afraid to admit it.
Pinterest. I love it.
It's like one of the only apps I have on my phone that is just like that. When
Yeah,
so many other ones, but I can never let go of Pinterest.
yeah.
Never, ever, ever. Any last like little bits of advice? Any closing thoughts that you want to give, and we'll wrap up. Again, I appreciate your time today. Appreciate everybody in the audience hanging out with us. You gave us tons of great kind of inspirational community advice and feedback. So I think it was a really solid chat today.
Nice. I would just say get out there, do things that make you a little bit scared, meet people, and support your communities.
Yes, get out there and support all the communities. So head over to Michelle's page here. You can support all the communities she's involved in, G2I and also React Miami. And you guys know where our community is because that's what got you here. Head over to torque.community and our calendar of events are there. But in the meantime, this was a great conversation. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, Michelle.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
All right, we will see you guys soon. And remember, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. We'll see you on the next one.